Chapter 694, Cultivation Improved. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. What happened? Why are you so excited? Zhang Yuochen asked. Xunhua Liu had at least 6 sword scars on his body, and even his defensive robe was in tatters and dotted with many bloodstains. Obviously, he had just been in a big fight. In spite of that, his face glowed with excitement and his body trembled with joy. Boss, do you still remember the bet with Gai Hao? Zhang Yuochen nodded and said, of course, I remember. What about it? Have you fought with Pang Long already? Zhang Yuochen once made a bet with Gai Hao. If Pang Long beat Xunhua Liu in the sword contest, Zhang Yuochen would have to give Gai Hao a holy sword. If Xunhua Liu won the battle, however, Gai Hao would have to do something for Zhang Yuochen. Judging from Xunhua Liu's excitement, it was quite obvious that he had defeated Pang Long. Xunhua Liu chuckled. Boss, you really should have been there. The moment Pang Long was defeated, there was quite a stir in the audience. The disciples of the Supreme Pure Palace were dumbfounded. They could not believe that their elder brother Pang Long suffered defeat at my hands. At that moment, many junior sister apprentices shouted my name in admiration. Oh, the feeling is so cool. From now on, I will learn hard from Lord Blackie and become a top master. Only top masters are held in high esteem by others. Zhang Yuochen patted his shoulder and said, it's good that you have such awareness. When Zhang Yuochen made that bet with Gai Hao, he had been interested in Gai Hao's Yang spirit saintly being. Having since met Gai Tanjiao, Zhang Yuochen realized that there was a huge difference between Yang spirit saintly being and the extreme Yang body. Anyway, since he had won the bet, it was still a good thing to have Gai Hao owe him a favor. Perhaps it would come in handy in the future. Boss, I plan to throw a party with my elder brothers in the Demon Seal Yard and have fun. You must come. Defeating Pang Long used to be something beyond Xunhua Liu's reach, so he was now beside himself with excitement. Zhang Yuochen said, forget about it for now. I have something to ask you. Did you know that Sword Saint Xuanji issued a letter of challenge to 9 Serenity Sword Saint? Xunhua Liu couldn't help feeling a sense of superiority when he realized that Lin Yui was ill-informed. He said, of course, I know. I am sure everyone in the entire Eastern region knows about this issue. The life and death battle between 2 great sword saints must have caught the world's attention. Mujiji, who stood on the side. It is said that Sword Saint Xuanji issued this challenge in order to avenge his disciple's murder. Zhang Yuochen spoke to himself, avenge his disciple's murder? At this moment, Zhang Yuochen suddenly understood. Sword Saint Xuanji issued the letter of challenge in order to make a big deal about Zhang Yuochen's murder. That way, Zhang Yuochen, who was hiding in the dark, would be safer. If Sword Saint Xuanji had no reaction to his disciple's murder, people would be suspicious about whether Zhang Yuochen had really died. To Zhang Yuochen's surprise, 9 Serenity Sword Saint actually accepted the challenge. Obviously, 9 Serenity Sword Saint had not killed Zhang Yuochen, so why would he accept the challenge? Moreover, he never spoke up for himself, as if indirectly admitting that he had killed the disciple. Zhang Yuochen was both grateful and anxious. 9 Serenity Sword Saint was one of the 3 great sword saints in the Eastern region. He was no ordinary person. If his master had a mishap, Zhang Yuochen would live with guilt for the rest of his life. The disciple of Sword Saint Xuanji was a really rare genius. He was not only highly gifted in sword technique but also a master of the power of time and space. If I were Sword Saint Xuanji, I would also fly into a rage upon learning of the murder of such an outstanding disciple. 9 Serenity Sword Saint actually deigned to kill a young warrior. That's not how a sword saint should behave at all. Xunhua Liu sneered. So as not to expose his true identity, Zhang Yuochen put on an act and swore at 9 Serenity Sword Saint too. Then he went with Xunhua Liu and Mujiji to the Demon Seal Yard. Xunhua Liu's party was attended mostly by indoor disciples. Some saints' disciples also came to extend their congratulations. After 3 rounds of drinking and toasting, Zhang Yuochen left and went back to Xixia Sacred Mountain. Master is literally covering for me. I need to double my efforts so that I won't let him down. He has long hoped that I would practice Sword 2 to the completion while in the Fish Dragon realm. I must make it before the Sword Technique Conference. Zhang Yuochen clenched his fists as his face hardened with determination. 3 months passed. Zhang Yuochen had refined 3 drops of Xuanwu sacred blood again and finally improved his cultivation to the peak of the 5th change in the Fish Dragon realm. His body brimmed with genuine qi and his qi was like a swelled up balloon. He had to break through realms before he could continue to absorb more genuine qi into his body. He had to spend time condensing the genuine qi inside his body to build the realm on a more solid foundation and then break through the 6th change in the Fish Dragon realm. It took him at least half a year. Half a year in the scroll world was equal to about 20 days in the external world. During this time, Zhang Yuochen began to perceive the sophistication of Sword 2 by studying the notes recorded by Moonbury Sword Saint, Sword Emperor, and Thousand Bone Empress. The first step was to read between the lines in the Sword 2 notes. He had to have a general idea what Sword 2 was. It was easier said than done. Relatively speaking, the Sword 2 notes recorded by Moonbury Sword Saint were easier to understand, and it just took Zhang Yuochen 3 days to make sense of it. His interpretation of Sword 2 was quite orthodox, and every sentence contained great truths and was enlightening. After Zhang Yuochen was finished with one set of sword notes, he felt that his understanding of the Tao of the Sword had deepened again. Only in the Sword Pavilion could he have easy access to such precious masterpieces. In the external world, the notes of Moonbury Sword Saint would be sold out even if it was priced unreasonably. Zhang Yuochen then began to read the notes compiled by the Sword Emperor. It was more abstruse. However, with his current sword realm, the advanced stage of heart integrated into sword, it took Zhang Yuochen only 7 days to get a general idea of it. The Sword Emperor really deserved his reputation as the pioneer of the Tao of the Sword for thousands of years. He had insights so unique that you can't help but be in awe of him. After Zhang Yuochen was done with these notes, he felt his understanding of the Tao of the Sword deepen even more. If Zhang Yuochen were to practice cultivation according to the notes of the Sword Emperor, it would really make his speed quicker. But the thing was, Zhang Yuochen first had to find 5 women who would be his swordsman maidservants. Therefore, Zhang Yuochen could only take it as a reference and learn its essence. Finally, Zhang Yuochen also studied the notes left by the Thousand Bone Empress. Perhaps because the Thousand Bone Empress had lived in an era so far removed from the present, each sentence seemed rather mysterious. In half a month Zhang Yuochen only made sense of a third of it. That day, Blackie called from the external world. Gai Tanjiao wants to see you. If you don't come out, I am afraid nothing can stop her. Gai Tanjiao. Zhang Yuochen dared not ignore her, so he immediately left the scroll world. In the courtyard, Blackie intercepted Gai Tanjiao at the door as she tried to break in. Zhang Yuochen pushed the door open and went out. He glanced at Gai Tanjiao and gave her a salute with hands folded. Greetings, senior sister apprentice. Gai Tanjiao smiled approvingly at Blackie who was on the ground. Lin Yue, the savage beast you keep is superior in wisdom and power. How about you give it to me? There were some remains of charred wood and traces of thunderbolts. Apparently, a fight had broken out just now. Zhang Yuochen held Blackie in his arms and patted his head, smiling. It's just a savage beast. He doesn't know how strong you are and dared to engage you. I would like to thank you for not hurting him. Realizing that Lin Yue had no intention to give her the cat, Gai Tanjiao said nothing more about it. Do you remember the agreement between you and Moonbury Sword Saint? You have to spend 9 days in the Sword Pavilion each month. This month is about to end and you have not been there for even a single day. Zhang Yuochen scratched his head and appeared to be surprised. I have been busy practicing in confinement. I forgot about it. Come, let's go to the Sword Pavilion now. With just a glance, Gai Tanjiao saw that his cultivation had improved a lot. Within less than a month, his cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. This guy must be keeping a lot of secrets from us. Gai Tanjiao thought inwardly. On the way to the Sword Pavilion, Gai Tanjiao quietly spoke to Zhang Yuochen via sound transmission. Chifa took first place in the contest. Zhang Yuochen raised his eyebrows and quickly understood. Is her power really so strong? There were top masters like Qin Yufan, Ken Dong, and Zhao Yuan among the monks with the cultivation of the 8 change in the fish-dragon realm, and they were not to be trifled with. Even Zhang Yuochen was not sure he could rout them all. Based on Chifa's previous displays of strength, she was not likely to win first place. I went to watch her fights with Qin Yufan and Ken Dong respectively. It appears that she has already cultivated to the 10th realm of Sword 1, the completion. Zhang Yuochen felt something was wrong and said, I think she has concealed her actual power. I think so too. Gai Tanjiao looked at Zhang Yuochen and said, I can't figure out why she chose to reveal her actual power now. Does she want to attend the Sword Technique Conference on behalf of the Yin and Yang sect? What's in it for her?